Simple.
Just stop for a second.
I love that direction.
We're, okay,
We
yeah.
have to start the meeting.
Supposed to record now?
Yep, right now, and just for a minute.
This is our May 27th select board meeting, and it's we're going right into executive session. And would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I move we go into executive session per one VSA 313A4 for personnel discussions.
Second.
Second, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well, we will not record this, but we will report on what the outcome when we come out.
Yeah, 15 minutes. They'll have to take almost an hour.
Okay, are we on here? This is a continue, we're coming out of the,
Oh, here we go. There's two things now being recorded. It's the note taker. I think we're on.
Okay.
Can you hear us? All thumbs up if you can hear us? No. Are we being heard? Yes.
yes, okay,
Just saying yes.
okay. We had a extended executive session to deal with the personnel policy, and there is no action to be taken coming out of that. So we're going to move into our regular discussion, regular meeting. And we're going to start with changes to the agenda. There were a few ideas on changes for the agenda,
Sorry, Patty.
and Patty did too.
I have one,
Yeah, go ahead.
right now, okay. I want, I heard last week that for years, people have been trying to solve this problem in front of the town hall and with the intersection. And I think that we, right now, at this moment, should decide that we're gonna repaint the sidewalk, repaint the crosswalks. There used to be one right in front of here, right in front of the town, right in front of here, right in front of the library, and one in front of the post office.
Mhm.
There used to be 3 of them, and now there's not any, they're all faded off. I think we should do that right now. I think we should put a light up.
Okay, just to clarify, Patty, there's a
Yes.
section in this agenda where we're talking about our response to the Route 2 intersection, so we'd love to hear more about it.
Then,
Then.
okay, I'm sorry, okay. I thought
That's
we-
okay.
I thought we were putting it in,
That's on.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, you put it on.
Yeah.
Pretend I didn't say anything.
No, thank you for.
We
thank you.
caught it, yeah.
Thank you for saying something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have 2 items. One is municipal holidays. It's like fast check-in on municipal holidays because Juneteenth is around the corner.
Yeah.
And then discussion of bond council for the $150,000 VCF interim phase 2 loan. Just to clarify which council is being retained.
Right, I'm not sure I know that answer.
Well, it's a short,
You have it
agenda. It's a short agenda. item.
We'll get there when we get to the agenda.
Yeah, okay.
Right, okay.
Okay, I had a couple announcements. Michael Billingsley is going to be hosting the meeting at the town hall regarding accessibility June 1st at 1:30, and volunteers are needed for that. I've been talking to Bob Atkinson about the raccoon concerns at 99 Main Street, and we can talk about that if anyone likes, but he is taking action on that and has not had any success yet, but he's been trapping. And also there's a meeting career center plans at Twinfield. They want to develop a career center at the school, and that's going to be June 4th, 6 to 7:30 at Twinfield. So those are my announcements. Any others?
What is the career center?
It's
Is it an alternative to our regional career centers?
I think it's I think it's part of that. I don't know all the details. I was asked to announce it. so.
Can you say the time again? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, it's June 4th at Twinfield, 6 to 7:30. I have a poster up downstairs on the board, so there should be detail there.
The only thing I know about that is that the career center has been all the schools going to Spalding.
Yeah,
and they've done a really good job, but it sounds like they wanna have their own, and is that correct?
I think that's right. But Twinfield would have to initiate that. That's what they're
Right.
doing, yeah. Okay, any public comment? Michael?
Just to flesh out what you had said, Carl, that the forum here, on Sunday afternoon at 2:30 is for families or households who have people with disabilities where they might need to evacuate. So it's about planning for evacuation and planning to go to shelter. And it also will be for anybody interested in being a shelter worker to train how to work with people with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, apologies to all for being late with getting started. Any other comments from the public?
I have a question. Whatever happened about the electrical, we're making a box to people plug in their electrical cars?
I
Since we've
don't
been talking
know,
about
I
it
don't
once
have
in a
any
while.
information on that.
We'd have to ask Bob Atchison to,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
okay,
Okay.
which one?
Uh, Okay, town clerk report?
99 Main Street issue, I contacted a trapper, and, gave the rates. Obviously, the homeowner really should, absorb that cost, and, there are concerns about a couple of the raccoons being rabid. I called the, game warden, but they deferred me back to, having a private person do it. And, reconciliation vote went smoothly, and, I think that's about it.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks for checking on that, though.
Wait, is this, you can take this back to the office, anybody?
Yeah, I think everyone signed it. Yeah.
I'm not tonight, but I think I may have already
All right.
signed what's in there.
And Bram, when you said the reconsideration vote of the zoning,
May 20th?
yeah, I just want to make sure for,
Okay, town treasury report, Josh?
Dan
Oh.
Kevin's not showing tonight.
Yes, you mentioned, yes, thank you. Yeah.
Not on Zoom
He's
either.
on, he's on deployment.
Oh, wow.
Josh?
and if, I don't know if you want this, Mike, or if you want to go over there, but I don't think this has been turned on, so let me. Should be good.
So, over the past, couple of weeks, I worked with, Batchelder Associates and, I was hoping tonight to have a new statement of position, prepared so that you can kind of see where we've, where we've fallen budgetarily. One of the puzzle pieces to slot into that was to work with Nemrick. They were scheduled for last Thursday. At the last minute, they had to reschedule to this Thursday, so that part I didn't get in place. But I've definitely come to understand like the nature of error that kind of has made it difficult to reconcile a lot of the accounts that we have. And it's that there was work that was begun sometime in like April to May, and some in just previous to the flood that was never completed, and I think was just left, but I was unaware that it was incomplete work, and this was the root cause of why the treasurer's report was delayed, and then likely is the cause of errors there. So I'm planning on having a much broader discussion at the next select board meeting about the full picture of the corrective action, and we'll make sure to ask for time for that then. One of the things I wanted to bring up is that we finally got all the last payment came in today for 2023 Federal Highway. Thank you. Thank you, Federal Highway. And the part of the reason that we need to get a good statement of position and for the town put together beyond the good accountability is that the bond bank is gonna require some of this documentation so that we can extend our terms of our loan. Extend the line of credit. And so all that work is still in progress. The, another piece that I wanted to highlight is, I believe you, Carl, you probably signed it, but, the letter of, that was from, the letter of intent to support the Ready, consultant to help us write the
Right.
grant.
Yeah.
And I believe, I don't know if Karen's discussed it more widely or if Karen's on the call today, but,
Not yet.
that's a good, step forward for us for obtaining, like quality assistance and, pursuing the CDBG, DR grants. And the, another thing is a little bit of a transition into road commissioner / treasurer is we finally have a design, contract completed for the Mill Street Bridge. The Bridge 21 should be shortly. One of the issues delaying the projects further upstream was there was some, we had a bit of a back and forth with AOT about what we would consider permanent and what was considered not approved for permanent projects. I think we're mostly have landed on everything below Gray Road, with the exception of Bridge 22, which is at the base of Cameron Road, will all be considered part of a permanent project.
Oh.
May not be the same numbering that we've been using all along, because one of them got merged, so that took out number 7, I think. And then one of them is split into essentially 4 sites. And that would be number 8, which would include the 3 washouts in between Gray Road and Fowler Road, and one of the bridges that's completely damaged, which is Bridge 12. And that, and then another small hurdle that we have to overcome is that the AOT did not agree with our selection for municipal project management. We had selected, just so everybody knows, the procedure is that 3 representatives from the town, or a minimum of 2, must form a selection committee to be the to select the firms that are going to be doing the management and design consulting. And Carl and Peter have been doing that work with me. We'll have to go back to the drawing board because AOT felt like having Du Bois and King do the design work adjacent to their management work locations would be a bit of a conflict. So and I think I emailed you too and reached out for what days would be good to get together on that. There are a number of people who've been using the road reporting form, which I think is great. And and we understand that there are a lot of problems with the pavement on Main Street. It's the intention of the road foreman to get that section through Main Street Extension and down, removing some of the existing pavement, releveling it, and then paving that. And that's been in the slot for a while. It's getting delayed because of a lot of the things that have happened because of the flood, and then there's been a few other kind of significant projects that came up with that recent heavy rain over on Country Club Road. They did a lot of work on a culvert there that is where the old train trestle went through. And I'm happy to say that they were able to complete that work on their own time quite efficiently and quickly with the help of having an excavator. And I asked the I asked the foreman, like, so, what would you do if you didn't have the excavator? It's like, well, we absolutely can't do it with backhoe, we would have had to rent an excavator or hire a company, so. You know, I think over time that, that move should hopefully save money.
Great.
Thank you.
You have a question? Yep.
You covered a whole bunch of things really, really quick. I wanted to go back to the, Ready consultant. Have we seen anything? I just heard about it this afternoon at a meeting that, Francis Rose and I were at with, Vermont Community Foundation, that this is from Housing and Conservation Board. This is to a consultant for the CDBGDR grant, correct?
Yes, this is part of the work we have to do to make sure that we have everything like professionally assembled and put together so that we can submit a successful grant.
But there, you mentioned a letter. Is there a letter for us to sign? I haven't seen
There
it.
was one for the chair to sign,
Oh, okay.
It was in the yellow folder.
yeah, and
Do we need to authorize you to sign it? Is that, or did you sign it already?
I think I signed it.
I'm not sure about that, but
Well, we can get authorization if you want.
it's merely like,
It's a request.
it's a request.
Yeah.
And, I was hoping that Karen Hatch would be on to speak to that a little more fully, but but essentially like, you know, the process of like putting together these large grant
No, I'm
packages.
all for
Great.
it. Just didn't,
Yeah.
hadn't seen anything,
So I
so.
would reach out to Karen if you want
Okay.
some more detail.
And-
Should we authorize Carl to sign in the event that it's necessary to still do so?
Yeah,
Motion to authorize Carl Business to sign
Second.
the Ready grant?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Wait, we need the wording. What are we authorizing you to sign? We need it.
the letter,
Whatever I feel like.
We have to call it something.
Ready?
the letter requesting the Ready grant,
The Ready grant.
REDI.
RED.
Correct.
All, you need to ask, call the vote.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote. I will make sure that that is taken care of.
My other question, I don't think I've seen an email from you about the, project management stuff. Was that come this afternoon?
I sent it this afternoon.
Yeah, it just came from me. Yeah,
I haven't been there, so. Okay,
yeah. And I sent back a response.
so basically, I think we had come up with, who was the third contractor, Stantec, so we're basically looking to bring them into
For
the.
project
loop
management, we, that was on our initial list, so for the municipal project management, and then, we will need to select, another design for one of the, we'll need to look at the other locations that we haven't made selections for, but, you know, bringing another firm into the mix, and, you know, knowing, you know, we made that assessment some time ago, we may wanna review
Okay,
and make a
we'll
decision.
do that. Yes.
I just want to note, so you're on the lookout for it. So the legislature passed the next fiscal year budget. And in the fiscal year budget, every town that's been flood affected is getting a payment depending on how much damage. And I don't know exactly where we're technically at, but it's likely we'll get a $50,000 or $75,000 payment from the fiscal year budget. I spoke with our state senator, Andy Perchlik, who's the chair of appropriations this morning. He said last year there was a lot of delay in those payments. And so he's already starting to talk to the administration about getting those checks out as soon into the fiscal year as possible. So just as an FYI,
Is that an open-ended?
it's not a grant. It's literally language for towns with damage from the 2023 and 2024 floods.
It's a-
Based on how much damage the town got, there's a, like, if you're between 1 million and 5 million, you're getting $50,000. If you're between 5 million and up, you're getting
So
75.
just a payment,
Just a payment.
It's not a
state-
conditional-
State appropriation.
right?
Correct. Yeah.
I have a quick question for you, Josh, regarding the road. The personnel, we're dealing with personnel policy, rewriting that and all. We just hired somebody. And is that the road foreman who hires them? Is that you? Is that the board?
It is the board that has the final hiring, I believe. The. So if that hasn't happened. That should,
Okay,
but I guess it's not working and getting paid.
there's no procedure you know about that would dictate how that's done right now.
I'm not the one who is in the charge of that process, so I don't know exactly
Okay,
what the process has been for thus far.
okay,
In the fall, when we hired Dylan, it was, select board members were invited to be a part of the interview process. I took part.
I was. too,
And then
yeah.
once we made a recommendation, at that subcommittee, it went to the select board, and in an open meeting like this, there's an official hiring of the position.
Right,
So that step probably still needs to happen.
Yeah, I participated in the hiring committee of this last one, and then was informed that they'd started. So I don't think we've actually acted.
we haven't, that's what I was wondering. We can catch up to that, but,
Shall we do that
Okay.
now?
Well,
That's, I mean, considering that it's already done.
we would need a start date and the proper spelling of their name, and we would want to make it official and not just,
Okay.
guess.
Maybe the road commissioner knows these things.
I'm not a good speller.
We'll return to this
and I
next
don't have the
time.
data.
We'll return
Okay.
to this next time, thank you.
Yeah, we should do that at the next meeting.
yeah, just given,
When Josh said that wasn't his process, I thought that maybe he wasn't prepared for that, so.
Fair enough.
thank you, Josh. Okay, EAC report. Excellent.
Jared Birchmore, speaking for EVEAC. Just a couple of brief updates.
Jared, could you say what the acronym is for people watching online?
Yes, thank you. East Village Expansion Advisory Committee. The main updates from our last meeting, which was on Thursday of last week, we're currently looking at 2 different budget scenarios. Scenario A, which is what we anticipate to be the most likely scenario, or the most promising scenario at this point in time, is receiving grant funding through the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Relief, so CDBG-DR. Karen Hatcher and the grants group has been working and staying up to date on that process, and believe that that could fund most of the project, if not all of it. So that is the kind of primary scenario that we're working on as our number 1 process. The secondary scenario, in the event that we don't receive those funds, or we receive a portion of what we ask, would be combining the funds raised from land sales with whatever grant money we get from that grant, as well as a couple other smaller grants that the grant team is looking into. In relation to that as well, one of our subgroups, the construction and permitting group, is looking to create a sketch that accommodates 10 acres of sellable land, rather than, in the current scenario, there's about 8.2 acres of sellable land. And so just exploring that potential other alternative in the event that we do need to raise more from land sales than grants or other funding. I believe that's pretty much the main updates here. I also just want to state that the next meeting is June 12th here at the Opera House at 5 p.m. Folks can also join via Zoom. And we do have a village expansion email address if folks have questions, concerns, comments that they want the whole committee to hear. So that is villageexpansion@plainfieldvt.gov. All of our meeting notes and agendas are posted online as well on the Plainfield Town page.
Any questions from the board? I have one question. Oh, I have a question. Do you know what the status is of the sale of the property?
No, I do not.
Okay, that's our, kind of our,
Yeah,
but I was just wondering if he had a report on it.
Yeah, no, I don't believe, and I wasn't able to attend the meeting on Thursday, but I don't believe that that was.
Yeah, okay.
Has been discussed.
I'm just wondering if it came up. Go ahead, Mike.
Be very short.
Yeah.
Michael Billingsley. I had a meeting with, Arian Tabumari and, Burrows, last week about the runoff and drainage issues from the meadow as it exists now. And in other words, the meadow is a drainage area that comes down to Creamery Street. And I've been working with the landowners on Creamery Street to determine what happens to that water when it gets to the bottom. When we have heavy rain, it tends to exceed the capacity of the culvert and flood a lot of the backyards on the Creamery and Hudson and Brook Road area, especially behind 99 Brook. And so we've been floating the idea of having a catch pool, which is sort of like a pond. It's very, very difficult to fit in the area that we were looking at with the 8.2 acres. So when you say expanding the number of buildable lands to 10 acres, which obviously has to take into account the wetlands that are being preserved and protected, it suggests the possibility that there might not be room for a catch pool. And it's still an open question about how that pool would be designed and where it would be located. But the idea is to try and slow the water down before it damages the center of the village. So I'm just throwing that up now as something that might be part of the future discussion.
Jared can pass that along, I assume, and
Yeah.
to the building committee. Thank you for that report.
Thank you, Jared.
I think we're up to our oh, wait, amended appointment to planning commission.
Sheriff contract renewal?
Oh, I'm sorry. I looked at Captain Myers. Our constable is on a deployment, so he's not here. So you have a contract?
Fires being held close to the face.
For those that don't know.
oh, I turned it off. You just gotta push that up, sorry.
For those who don't know, we have Captain Brett Meyer from Washington County Sheriff's Department. We've had a contract with Plainfield for, oh gosh, I started here in 89, started here in 92. We had a contract in 92.
I think I was on the board then.
You might have been, yes. I sent you the statistics, so you should have a copy of the statistics, let you know where we are. Presently, we're same as all other law enforcement, basically in the state of Vermont. We're all looking for help. We are down on staff some, but as far as what we're doing is we're basically covering everything with full-time staff now, because there's very few part-timers. People don't want to get involved in this career on a part-time level. You might have noticed that our rates went up from 60 to 66 this year. Some of that's for being able to retain help. I can tell you Montpelier right now is 37 and change before they even go to the academy. So for us to be able to try to even match that is difficult. In addition, we also went to what the federal mileage rate is plus 10 cents. And the purpose why we did that is we just recently purchased a truck to come in sometime, I think in August. I can tell you what that rate or what we are paying for that, it's just over $64,000. So the price of vehicles, as I'm sure you're seeing with the highway department, et cetera, everything just keeps going up.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it's the equipment that goes in the vehicles, not as much as the vehicle. It's just becoming astronomical to be able to try to run a business, an easy way to say it. So those two rates are going up, and just so you are aware of that.
Yeah.
It's minimal at this point. That's where we want to be able to keep it and be able to help the towns out, and still be able to keep staff.
Well, that's appreciated. When is this contract due? Is there a date on
It
it?
will actually be July 1st.
Okay. We did have one discussion, and Dan's not here to talk about it, about traffic monitoring, speeding, getting speeders and so on, and focusing on areas where there might be more speeding than others. Make sure that your staff is in the right place.
Right. He actually just reached out to me recently.
Okay,
An issue on Country Club Road.
Country Club, and,
We'll see some additional attention in that area.
yeah, good, okay.
So you all feel openness to receiving from either the constable or other town officials direction on where to position your staff?
Generally, what we look for is one contact person, which is fine, whoever on the select board.
It probably will be the
and or
constable.
Dan, which him being where he is right now, he's obviously not gonna be able to give me information, but it's easier to have one person make
Yeah.
that contact with me, that way I know it's, you guys are gathering the information, and generally, what we're looking for, if it gives specific vehicle, so we can either target that one specific vehicle and or visit the person and say, gotta slow it down, and then if we get that person, then that's a whole different measure. But on the other hand is, the time it's happening. Because I don't wanna be scheduling somebody at, 7 o'clock in the morning if it's happening at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
That way we can schedule things accordingly. I wanted to quickly offer that the town clerk played the role as the contact in past years, and it might be helpful to check with him to see if that's still appropriate.
Yeah, yeah, we'll be talking to Bram about that. What was my thought? One of the things was that we have a town site that lets citizens register issues on the roads if there's damage or, well, and Josh has said that it's okay to also register speeding. Am I right, Josh, about that? Yeah. So that would be a way for us to collect data that we can get to Dan or whoever's connecting with you.
That should be great, sooner than later. if
Yeah.
I can.
Okay.
That way I can address it quickly.
And point of information that's available on the town website.
Yes, and it's available right now, so anyone who has issues with speeders can just explain what they're seeing and when, right? This sounds like those are the two issues you need.
Correct. I know in the past, I've kind of followed Plainfield people to, fortunately, as we know, people vent, and sometimes that's the only way they'll vent.
Well, we're in light of the increases in costs, we're trying to focus our value of your department in where we see the biggest issues. Yes, Dan?
Josh, can you update that form? Maybe with a note, if you want to report speeding or unsafe traffic, please note the road, the time of day, any other information you may have.
Yeah, you could probably, it's very open-ended.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. If you give them some instruction, then we might get better information
Yeah.
from the reporting.
Agreed. Without prompting. Might not get as detailed as is desired.
Yes, Peter.
I think at the last meeting, Josh informed us that we've spent roughly half of our budget for the current fiscal year. So, even with the prices going up, it sounds like we're in okay shape for the coming year. Because I think we have appropriated the same amount. And, I do appreciate the receptiveness to being, open to some targeted direction from us that probably would make our dollars even more.
I can tell you, I know last year, obviously you guys have been running into a lot of problems with everything going on. And there was shifts that weren't scheduled, trying to give you guys some money on your end. When we got the complaints, and I ended up going and scheduling things to deal with the complaints, i.e. East Hill and stuff. And that was more to be able to allow the money to be back in the town. and
Yep.
Dealing with the things that you had to deal with.
Appreciate that.
With that, we'll let you know, I did notice an issue on East Hill with the ordinances, just so you're aware. The lower end, the paved section, we don't have an ordinance for that, just so you're aware.
Oh,
For that speed zone,
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
excuse me,
What do you mean?
there's no ordinance for that speed zone, so we need to have an ordinance put in place for the particular speed zone there. If I remember, it's 30 on the bottom end,
25,
25, so there is no ordinance for that 25.
I thought that's the whole village.
You have it separated by different roadways, and then the 35 is for your dirt roads by state statute.
Yeah.
So the lower section of East Hill is not, we have no ordinance for that section.
Hmm.
In addition, I only heard part of the crosswalk issue earlier. You have ordinances for your crosswalks. So you have designated crosswalks, so if you're gonna add some extras, probably want to deal with ordinances for that as well.
Okay, that's good information. Thank you.
No, I want an addition thing that we actually applied for a grant last year for a message, variable message board and speed, what we call speed card, to be able to set up, so we can set it up in different areas to deal with speed on that end of things. Literally waiting for it to be delivered, so. Something to receive the grant on to be able to use in different towns. Variable message board works very well.
Except for Smuggler's Notch.
Hey, it has worked a lot better than other.
Very true. But with that said, when we get down to old home days and stuff like that, we'll be able to set that up to give some pre-warning, et cetera.
Oh, great. Great. So it sounds like we needed some update our ordinances so that your staff has something to work with.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
I'm curious what the next steps are about the contract itself. Do we need to authorize its signing?
Yeah, I don't know if I actually have seen that. Have you seen it?
I don't know that we've received the contract
I
itself.
know it was sent.
It was sent,
I think-
okay.
I think we got it months ago.
Yes.
Yeah, they sent it to us a long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm not sure
okay.
we ever acted on it.
We didn't act on it, but we need to act on it. I don't know if we need to act right now or
Do we want to put it on the next agenda so we have a time to?
let's get it on the next
so we have
agenda. We
time to
can
Review it.
refresh our memory, but.
I have found it. I will,
Yeah, I-
forward it to all
I
of
see
us.
on May 12th, it was sent to us.
Okay, thank you.
I have a point of question.
Yeah,
At the point of, hopefully one of you know the answer to this, outside this building, there is a crosswalk sign that was put in by V-Trans. And there is actually no location for that crosswalk that I know of. And one of the question I have is there anybody who knows if there's a formal designation of a crosswalk across Route 2 here?
I don't believe there is.
there is not, and that's why those signs were taken away.
They're
Yeah,
still there.
There is, if you look at the project that was approved for the intersection rebuild. It did include the sidewalk continuing from the bridge up and coming right across. So there is a space, a place designated on that design for that crosswalk.
Or crosswalk.
Yeah,
And there's also a discussion about a light, some kind of alarm down towards Marshfield that'll alert people coming around the corner that there is a crosswalk. And
There's a
somebody's in it.
button type crosswalk
Yeah.
in Montpelier that you push a button when you want to cross and
Yeah.
it does activate a light. So someone could potentially also warn the traffic.
I believe that's what they're talking about.
Okay.
And this is it's a federal highway, so it's really out of our control. Josh?
So for a crosswalk to be like legit, you have to have a receiving facility on the other side of the transit facility. So we don't have a proper receiving facility in the crossing on the opposite side here.
There's no sidewalk on the other side of the road.
Exactly. And it's not just that it's a sidewalk, it has to meet the code for federal.
Like tactile pavement and a curb cut and a ramp to go up.
Yeah, it needs a lot of work, and that's why combining it with that intersection project makes sense
Yeah.
to me.
Patty, you had a question about that, right?
No, I know we used to have them and, we used to have crosswalks and they're all gone, so I wonder how we can just. And I know there's been a big problem with the intersection, I don't know why we can't just put them out, but now I see that there's all these other things I don't know about.
Well, and it's not our road, right? So our
Yeah.
town can't put out the lines. It would be V-Trans.
Right, they have to be these federal standards and so.
Well, the only problem is that last time we were here, they said they put $70,000 and they had all these things to look at. So why can't that be something that can be the first thing to look at? Why can't we ask them to make it safe for us to give us some crosswalks?
One
That's a light.
One great thing that's coming up is that there's actually a couple of grants that we're gonna pursue to in service of like building sidewalk infrastructure, pedestrian infrastructure. And so that's actually been like another new focus of the grant group to get that moved forward. And I think we'll have more information about that probably by the next meeting, I bet.
Good. So it's being worked on. It's slow.
I know, but I just, that gentleman was here last time, said that when he first started this, he was a little kid, now he's like, he's 50 or something, and I just wonder how it can be maybe escalated a little bit.
When I moved here, we were talking about a bypass, so
Up by the hill, over the hill, I remember that, yeah.
that was 45 years ago.
Okay, so how can we make it move faster?
Well, we have this, money, but we also have a proposal, or at least an idea of a redesign of this intersection that would include those sidewalks and
That-
crosswalks.
Is that for 2027?
Yes,
So that's still 2 years away.
still 2 years away. I don't see why we couldn't press to get
Or is it for
crosswalks that
2026?
exist painted.
Yeah.
I mean, that would make sense.
Cause they're just not painted anymore, I remember taking.
Yeah.
Well, I think they probably took them away because they're not legal anymore.
Just for clarity, we had this as a agenda item, a few items from now to go into. I don't know if we were intentionally going.
How
that
this
way.
happen again?
Okay,
I don't know what's happening.
sorry, I missed that. Any other questions for Captain Harris? Do you have any for us?
Thanks for being here tonight.
Yeah, we'll address this next time.
Laura, anything you need, give me a holler.
Appreciate it, everything you guys are doing. Okay. And now we have to amend the appointment of our planning commission person who we didn't give a term
Yeah.
for.
So I move that we amend our previous action and appoint David Scheckman to a 3-year term ending April 15th, 2028.
Is there a second?
Second.
And all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
I had a question, sorry, before we.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see.
Typically with these boards and things, right after the town meeting happens, we do the reappointments. I don't know if that's written in our rules that like appointments end not on like 3 years to the day, but after the next, so 3 years from now after town meeting.
The planning commission has a charter and April 15th.
April 15th is the day. Okay.
In their charter.
Thank you.
So,
Yep.
Yeah, well, I asked Will and he sent that to me.
Yep. Great.
But also, just for curiosity's sake, no one is allowed to be on that commission longer than 9 years.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we have a couple other examples. And we may have someone who has been in their position longer than the charter calls for. We'll try and clean that up.
Is that a
Well-
future agenda item next time?
Yeah, I forget which commission it is, so it's not this one.
Do you wanna circle back and let us know?
Yeah,
when
I'll
you
try.
wanna, when
I'll
you
try to
wanna address
remember.
it? Great, thank you. Appreciate your attention to detail, Peter.
Yes, definitely, always. I think it was Josh who mentioned that that Waterbury has a volunteered festival day where there's music and food and booths of all the committees in town who are looking for volunteers, so just throw it out there. I think it's a great idea.
I mean, Old Home Days is coming. We can put an invitation out to all the committees.
Yeah,
committee Chairs,
yeah,
is there want to recruit?
and they can discuss what they do, and people who have an interest in that can join up.
How would that suit you, Will?
It would have to be a public meeting, because if three of us get together, it just all have to be a super warned meeting. A mega
Yeah.
meeting.
A mega meeting, yeah.
Old Home Days is that?
Lots of quorums.
Most
Yeah.
town officials present.
Okay, I guess the next item is discuss the sidewalk policy.
That real blur.
I don't know what to say about it now.
I mean,
What's that again?
You want me to sort of lay out the idea behind it, Carl?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Yeah, well, it came about, as you know, the town is applying for a neighborhood development area. We've been doing this since October. The goalposts keep moving as we go along. The deadline for a special meeting for this round is Monday. So the, one of the components is for a neighborhood is to have a connectivity. And so they wanted us to have a sidewalk policy, which I sort of cribbed together from other towns and spoke with Alicia about accessibility. And we came up with a policy that tries to build out the sidewalk network over time, knowing that like the intersection and Mill Street Bridge and Brook Road Bridge are need to be finished before the rest of the sidewalk is done. And streets like Martin Meadows and Hudson are lower traffic and don't really need the kind of sidewalks. And we wanted to connect to Goddard College, also the Goddard project along Route 2. Once again, that's along the federal highway that involves AOT. Who knows what the restrictions are on that? But the policy is goal oriented. This is what we want to try to do, knowing the constraints of it. So
So what is needed then for this designation that can be put into the next meeting, the grant meeting?
Well, the grant review is separate. This is the neighborhood development application that we're finishing up. So I sent out the sidewalk policy to all the members, made a few additions, results of some suggestions by Rose. And it would be nice if the select board could approve it, so it's sort of official, knowing that it's just a policy, and obviously things will change as it goes along. And I tried to make it as flexible as possible, knowing that the Route 2 interchange, who knows what's going to happen there, but the town wants a sidewalk there, and it wants one that's legal and ADA accessible. And there's a grant out there that'll maybe get us started. Not sure, what if we got $50,000, it'd be nice, to upgrade some of the sidewalks for ADA accessibility and maybe add 100 feet here or there. But the policy states a goal of completing a comprehensive sidewalk network on the roads in the village that can take it as the construction and rebuilding takes place.
Well, the map I saw looked pretty connected. It was well thought through, I thought.
Yeah, I appreciated the draft iterations, Will. I think it reads well and is a strong policy, and I'm happy to support it. I'm happy to make a motion to support it if this is the time.
Is there any other, go ahead.
Make a motion to approve as the sidewalk policy as given to the select board by the planning commission.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, I would just, for the public, say that this is a vision, and it also says that it should be constructed with grant funding as much as possible. If no grants become available at a reasonable time, the goal of the town is to establish a capital construction reserve fund for future sidewalk construction, which we did at town meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So other than that, it just explains, here are the different projects that we'll just cover. So.
And also Mike in the room.
Yeah, Betsy?
Yes, hi. I'm just questioning, is there did you prioritize certain sidewalks? And I haven't, I'm sorry to say I haven't seen the finished product sidewalk policy, but such as Route 2 from the intersection down to Maple Valley or whatever, not Maple Valley, but.
Yeah. Will, can you address that?
I would say the prioritization is fund as funding is available. If we can get $50,000, it would make sense to do a smaller project. If it's $100,000 to get to Maple Valley and we only have 50, we'll I think that would be the best answer. But that's the way it's sort of written. There's no priority. I think the next grant might prioritize that based on availability of fundings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Dan?
Yeah, and Betsy, the policy has this, there was a scoping study done in 2017 of where we need sidewalks in town. And so it links those and says that we should do those sidewalks, plus added some areas like existing sidewalks to the Goddard campus property, Main Street to connect to proposed new housing on East Hill. There's a long list of things. It does not prioritize which should be first and which should be 10th. But it does list sidewalks, and also the scoping study lists a bunch of other sidewalks.
Did you have a
Thank
question?
you.
I was gonna talk about scoping study as well.
And Josh, you have a point?
One of the features of a grant that we're looking at, because like Maple Fields and Outer Spice are both in Marshfield, and that population area is in Marshfield, because we're crossing town lines, that can sometimes give us like better chances to kind of get the grant in place for that. So that is one of the ways which that particular section can get moved forward more quickly, I think.
Great. Yes, Michael.
I wanted to say that in the funding work group, that there was a discussion that also came up in the village expansion project, which is that we have a goal to have what we call a walkable village, so that younger couples and people who are on, whatever reason they might want to walk anywhere, that it would be easier to do that. And part of that is to be, of course, in the form of sidewalks, but part of it also is lighting. So I just wanted to throw out that as we add sidewalks, we also have to look at making sure they're safely lighted. So that people feel safe as they're going out at night, for instance.
Okay.
Carl, there's a hand, Alicia.
Oh, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna reveal my ignorance of existing town policies, but I understand that we've created a fund for sidewalks, which is good. I hope we get grant money to go in there, but is there a means by which the town prioritizes upkeep and repair of sidewalks? I'm concerned, I mean, first of all, some of these sidewalks are accessibility issues because there's no way you can navigate a wheelchair, manual or power through them. So you're isolating people, but also I'm concerned about I think there's a liability risk with some of the condition of some of the patches of sidewalk that exist right now.
Do you want to address that?
Get more down the road with creating capital asset management, like for all the facilities in the highway department. The sidewalk is also part of that. Like, we don't really have an organized process by which we create the stacking of projects in the roads. And so as that comes forward, also sidewalks, putting things forward first, depending on the location and funding and that matrix, like the sidewalks will come with that too. And certainly, feel free to use the road reporting form for that as well, because it is part of the conveyance of people in the town. And it is the responsibility of the highway department to maintain that facility.
Thank you.
Yes, Peter.
And Alicia, the policy itself, number 3 in the policy says, there shall be a yearly maintenance plan and long-term repair plan, which will utilize the town funding in this sidewalk and pedestrian reserve fund. And then, so it does call for that, and it also talks about ADA requirements as a priority in new construction.
I mean, I think
Good
that.
to know. Thank you.
Question for Josh, were you aware of number 3? Were you following that? Is that your purview, a yearly maintenance plan and long-term repair plan for the sidewalks?
Nobody shared the sidewalk policy with me, as far as I know.
Apologies.
It's fine, I'm way ahead of you guys.
So you accept this?
Sounds great.
Great, thank you so much for your. And
And I appreciate the road crew sweeping the sidewalks recently. I noticed they ran the machine down and getting them clean, so that makes it a little easier.
Can we call the vote?
Question for Will about the NDA. You want to
Yeah.
vote first or?
Oh, it's different question?
Well, Will, you said this is part of the NDA application, and so you said we're applying for, who is we?
The town, the select board, remember the grant back in, oh, it was in the fall. That the select board approved a grant for the Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission to, for the town to apply for the neighborhood development area. So there was a grant, that was awarded to the town, which is basically funding for the Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission to assist the town in applying for this designation.
Okay, are we gonna see that before it goes in?
The application, I can email it to you, yeah, there's still some discrepancy about the boundary and how it interfaces with the wastewater permit, but basically it's pretty close to what the wastewater lines are, because the density is determined by the ability to connect to the wastewater plant. So it quickly to imagine it, it's the sewer service area.
Okay.
I didn't follow.
I think he's saying they're still working on the application and there's still pieces of it that they're figuring out, including the wastewater.
But it's due Monday.
Yes, and we're still trying to decide with the state how they want to accept our application.
Okay. But when you say we, is this the planning commission?
Yes, the planning commission has been working with it, yes. And the Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission.
And who's signing off on this application?
I'm gonna sign it.
Okay,
Yeah, that's how the grant was designed.
Thank you.
yeah, that was the question.
And the grant was just to create the application, and I think.
Okay,
We
have-
have
we have
a in a second.
we have a motion and second, and we need a vote.
Yep.
Everybody ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote.
Oh, thank you.
Good luck, Will.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we have a discussion addressing owners of derelict property.
Yep, you missed one again.
Please, I did it again.
You gotta just not check stuff off till we get there. I watch it, he's like,
Discussion of,
done.
didn't we do sidewalk
No,
policy?
Sandy Vitsoon.
I don't have it.
Special equipment is Sandy basement as.
Okay, I don't have it on mine. That's
No.
sorry.
Oh, well.
So what is the next item?
After that.
Okay, discuss special appointment of Sandy Vitchin. Yes, right,
As
as the select board liaison. I just got this today, but this might have been the draft. Okay, I'm gonna share this with you.
Here, you can have this one. I have the. there you go.
Okay.
Shall I introduce this?
I'm sorry,
I'm asking for, shall I introduce this?
please do.
Would you like to
Yes,
introduce
please
this?
do.
It came to my and our attention that Sandy Vitstoon is still holding for the select board certain responsibilities relating to the East Village expansion project. And after the transition to official committee had fallen out of any kind of official role. And so there was want to acknowledge that she still is working for us to bring transparency to that. And so I'm bringing motion language, which might be, I think, perhaps needed to be heard in order to discuss it. So I guess I propose making the motion
Mhm.
and then having a discussion.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, I'd like to make, this is 2 paragraphs long, just so you know. Make a motion to establish a liaison role to support the select board specifically with East Village expansion related agreements and or transactions related to land purchases. This volunteer role is meant to coordinate and communicate between connected stakeholders to shore and hold relationships and deliver vital information across the web of project participants when needed. They serve at no cost to the town. With recognition that this role moves between many stakeholders, including legal counsel, it is necessary that it be bound by a sensitive confidentiality, sharing only what and to whom is required or allowed by law, depending on circumstance. In regard to all information contained wherein, and remains answerable to the select board at all times. Any offers made in this role, like this is land offers specifically, or agreements, negotiations, offers made in this role must be checked and cleared with all connected stakeholders, including the East Village Expansion Advisory Committee, and be approved by the select board. This motion includes the appointment of Sandra Vitzthum to fill this position.
Thank you. Is there a second for that? So we can discuss it?
Second.
Second, okay. Dan seconded. Any discussion?
I am not in favor of this.
Okay.
I do want to acknowledge, Francis Rose and I have gone back in emails, and thank you for including some of my suggestions in tweaking and focusing the language. I'm still not sure of this exact role. I watched the East Village Expansion Advisory Committee meeting the other night, and Francis Rose went there to talk about this, and I was taken by the fact that most of the folks, one right after the other, were surprised about Sandy's role. Continued, they thought she had stepped back, except for two things: discussing with the person who lives in the trailer, and I guess following up on the request to the feds to step back from oversight of wetlands. That's, I think, the Army Corps of Engineers. That's all I thought was going on, that they understood. And so I'm not quite sure what this expanded role is. I know we did talk about this with legal counsel in executive session, so I don't want to say any more than that at this point. But I am not quite sure what this accomplishes. And I have some concerns about it accomplishing more than we may want.
I can respond.
Yeah.
At least initially. The intention here is not to expand her role, but to clarify publicly, formally, what I feel she's already doing. For us in our position, which is the East Village Expansion is the select board's purview to handle all real estate transactions. And she is negotiating on our behalf to help achieve these real estate transactions necessary to achieve the project. And I'm wanting to clarify that, publicize that, formalize that.
And I thought our attorney was handling those negotiations. My concern and suggestion had been that I appreciate Sandy's role and her efforts and whatnot, but my preference would be to have her accountable to the expansion committee or one of their work groups, such as the lot sales group or whatever the fit is, and that whatever ideas and suggestions she has gets vetted by that committee, and then the committee makes their recommendations to us. I'm concerned that we're setting up a parallel track here. Anyway.
Mhm. Yes, Dan.
Well, I think that would, I guess it depends on obviously what the work scope is, but specifically, you, Peter, when we wrote the EAC scope of work, specifically did not include land sales, us buying land in some of those pieces.
That's
So I think
for us.
So I think that it seems like the intention is to say, Sandra, who's already started talking with some of these landowners previous to the EVEAC, would still be somebody that would be working with us on that. And it would be outside of the EVEAC. And that's why I'm curious about why it says EVEAC would be checked with because it's actually for stuff that's outside of their purview. So
Oh,
that's where my confusion is.
I can clarify. So, for example, in negotiating with the tenant of the Knowles lot,
Mhm.
if there is promised in that negotiation, for example, a lot in the project,
Mhm.
that is not something that she has authority to offer unless it is checked with the E EDAC.
Why not? We would have to, I think, approve it. Yeah,
All parties. I mean, it says,
Yeah.
it says all parties.
yeah.
I see Michael's hand.
Michael, yeah.
I also wanted to add that in the group or the parties that are all actively involved in the expansion committee, and I'm not aware of everybody, but I would say that at this point, Sandy is the only currently licensed architect involved with the project. In other words, in terms of her standing as an active agent wherever she might be needed, and I'm not trying to suggest any role that she should take, but just that her professional standing at this point, having had already put in what, 12 to 1,500 hours, I think she once told me, in terms of negotiating and talking through each of the possible transactions in the future, the people would express interest in one way or another to have needs met with regard to the East Village expansion. I'm saying only that it's not just her experience and her relationships that she's built with everyone from state agencies right through to the individual landowners, but also she might be best empowered to do certain things on behalf of the select board. That's,
We're talking specifically here about the acquisition of the properties.
Yeah.
That alone.
yeah.
Yeah.
and
We're not
that-
talking about architecture or anything else.
Understood, but I mean, and I do understand that, Peter. I was thinking rather that as an agent for the select board, her being a licensed architect may assist the process of
Yeah.
family land transactions and that sort of thing.
Yes,
Yeah, for me, I think if Sandra wanted to help with the architecture and other things, like we have subcommittees of the EVAC, that would be, no, I know, I'm just saying, like, I think that would be great, and she should volunteer her time if she has the time, and there's the want on the subcommittees. It feels like to me, and there's, without getting into any of the negotiations, like, Sandra has some of these relationships and some of the knowledge for some of, there's multiple pieces of land we're looking at. And so it feels like we as a select board through executive session and other ways can, just like we are instructing our lawyer to go talk to this person or negotiate that, could do the same with Sandra. I don't know that because there's no cost to it, I don't know that we actually have to I mean, it's good that people know that when people volunteer when people volunteer and want to help, if we give them, we may give them stuff to do, but I don't know if this role as a liaison role needs to be this well defined. Because we're not defining, there are other people that have worked on the project and have whole different parts. We're not defining all of their roles.
I think it's in respect to the sensitivity of the information and relationships that she's carrying and holding on behalf of the select board. Is why the extra special container for her service.
she's holding select board information, you're
I
saying,
mean, she was included by our attorney following the executive session.
mhm,
He included her, and then meanwhile, part of the purchase and sale agreements involves the negotiations that she
he had
alone
done.
is holding with the tenant of the Knowles lot.
Mhm. Mhm.
Did you all see that exchange?
What exchange?
That Sandy had responded to Brian, and then Brian responded to her. And basically, we can't talk about this here, but,
Did you feel it was inappropriate somehow? Or?
I cannot
Okay,
find the words to say publicly here. We're talking about stuff that occurred in executive, as a result of executive session, so I cannot. I'm struggling to find,
what is the impetus to make this motion make this motion now.
I think it is in part a response to the calls for transparency around this process.
Mhm.
I think it is also in response to calls for containing the labor or to acknowledge that Sandy, in her passion and enthusiasm to see that people who need housing have a place to land, that her efforts sometimes go faster than the committee's efforts. That was true from the previous
Mhm.
steering committee
Yep.
and now this EVIAC committee. And so it is, excuse me. Yeah, it is an effort to kind of draw boundaries around her efforts. It is to limit her activities rather than expand them.
So we're-
Insensitivity to the concerns expressed by other stakeholders in this proceeding that she exceeds her authority. Meanwhile, she is already involved. Therefore, how do we acknowledge that and also contain or control, not control, contain her efforts so that they specifically serve the select board's needs?
Does that motion, I can't remember all the wording, but does that motion address that issue?
I think
Would you
so.
think so?
I think so.
Would you think it would
I don't.
define? Okay. Okay. Because it would seem like if we're gonna have a motion on it, it should be,
Do you want me to read it again?
yeah, I guess I would, please, yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can let me read it.
I know.
But I think other
think
people might
for our
wanna know.
First hearing, and I recognize that there's no cash way for me to get this into the chat. For that, I apologize. Make a motion to establish a liaison role to support the select board, specifically with the East Village expansion related agreements and or transactions related to land purchases. This volunteer role is meant to coordinate and communicate between connected stakeholders, assure and hold relationships and deliver vital information across the web of project participants when needed. They serve at no cost to the town. With recognition that this role moves between many stakeholders, including legal counsel, it is necessary that it be bound by a sensitive confidentiality, sharing only what and to whom is required or allowed by law, depending on the circumstance. In regard to all information contained wherein and remains answerable to the select board at all times. Any offers made in this role must be checked and cleared with all connected stakeholders, including the East Village Expansion Advisory Committee, and be approved by the select board. This motion includes the appointment of Sandra Vitzthum to fill this position.
Thank you. Well, it sounds like, to me, it defines what we want of her effort.
That was the intent.
Yeah, that's the intent.
I mean, the motion was made and seconded. Perhaps we call the vote.
I do,
I want to make sure we don't have a more discussion.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I do wonder if, in the second sentence, this volunteer role is meant to coordinate and communicate between connected stakeholders to shore and hold relationships and deliver vital information across the web of project participants when needed. Could say when directed by the select board.
Mhm.
I want to make sure that there's a clear, and, for anyone who's volunteering their time, that they are clear on, like, if they're gonna act for the select board, that they're clearly doing that.
So what is the, what?
Instead of when needed, I would say when directed by the select board.
Okay,
And when does she communicate with the select board? And when does she communicate with the committee?
I think the only time to communicate with the committee, because she's working for us,
Mhm.
is when anything she might be promising in the negotiations affects the design and or lot sales. That right now is the purview of the EVIAC.
Mhm.
So that she can't promise anything that we or she can't deliver. That's the intention. but she checks in with them when she starts making promises.
Do you feel like it's happened?
No,
Okay.
I mean, this is all, we are engaging in the journey together. And no deals have been made, no purchase and sale agreements have been signed, you know, we're still in that exploration.
So in your mind, I'm just trying to clarify in my mind what we're asking here. She would be continuing pretty much the work she's been doing to try to move things forward. And she is very passionate about it, and she has made a lot of connections, and she knows a lot of folks. But we're saying is we'd like her to be more involved with us. So we know what's going on, because that was one of the concerns last meeting was we don't know as much as we'd like to about what is happening. And this would be a way to, we could call her in other words, and have her give us a report, or if it's something that's sensitive, we could have an executive session with her about a purchase, you know, something that she sees as an opportunity.
I think it's yes, and I see the need for greater coordination of effort and communication. And I see none of us in that role already. I see her in that role, that if we asked her to like really step into her role, I think she could be even more effective. Right now, she's operating outside of any formal agreement. And so, yeah, this is to help us get the coordination we need across this complex web of relationship that is holding the future of this project.
And by that, you mean the real estate sales?
Okay, yes, just for example, the tenant of the Knowles lot. The Knowles lot is ultimately required to be a sewage transfer station that is the only available site on the entire parcel to have gravity-fed sewage flow into the system. To miss that is many tens of thousands of dollars in increased construction costs and many tens of thousands in maintenance costs of the system if it's not gravity fed. I need to be sensitive that I can't get into I don't want to.
No, I wasn't asking for all this. I just want to there's the real estate purchases. And that's what you're talking about coordinating.
Yeah,
I want to make sure it's clear that we have a whole committee of 11 people that are coordinating the whole project.
that's true.
And that this person is not coordinating the whole project.
I mean, I didn't get that vibe.
Well, I didn't get that vibe from this, but I got that vibe from what you just said out loud before when I asked the question. I just want to make sure, because everything that goes on with this project is parsed very closely by folks in town. And so I just want to make sure we're being very clear. You're talking about coordinating very specific real estate purchases.
I think it's the agreements behind the purchases.
Well, yes.
The purchases are our purview.
Yes, but I'm just saying, like, coordinating details to get to a point where we can make the purchases.
True.
That's what they're coordinating.
True.
They are not coordinating all the stakeholders for the whole project, just for these very discrete real estate purchases.
True.
Okay.
And we have an attorney who's going to execute those.
True.
And
then you're thinking that with this, with confidentiality specifically being in it, then, for example, if we have an executive session about the real estate purchases that Brian Amons, our attorney is in, Sandy could also be there.
True.
And be in the conversation. If we don't have her kind of listed in a confidential role, she would not be able to be in those conversations, because then, she would have no requirement to keep it confidential.
True. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate the discussion. I would urge all of us to review the emails from Brian Amons and Sandy that occurred since our executive session to look at the specific situation that came up in relation to these negotiations.
Could you forward that? Because the last one I'm seeing does not have any kind of flags in it, like issues. The last communication I see from our attorney does not have anything that would make me think that there would be a problem. Which is what I feel like you're vaguely saying.
Oh, I thought it was very clear, so you may not be looking at the right.
That's why I'm asking for you to forward it.
Well, and where I was going with this was, I'm wondering if, we're under any timeline to approve this tonight, but maybe postpone until our next meeting. I'm not sure we lose anything, in 2 weeks.
There might be something lost in the relationship with the tenant of the Knowles lot.
I mean, Brian did speak specifically to that situation.
Right, he's had conversations with them, right?
With Knowles, not the tenant.
Not the tenant.
And in response to Sandy,
Yes, right.
that's the exchange that I would urge you to reread. I would move that we postpone this until our next meeting.
I don't think you can make a motion while we're already in a
Yeah, you're in a
motion.
motion, but
We've already had a first and a second. We're in the discussion before.
Motion to postpone, I believe, according to Robert's rules, takes precedence.
That's your call, Carl.
can we table it? Or
If
is
you
it-
table it, I would suggest you do it to a time certain, which would be to next meeting.
So we could postpone till the next meeting as
It's
well.
essentially the same thing. If you table without a specific time, it's basically table permanently.
It sounds like there's some
Someone makes a motion
information.
to bring it up.
It sounds like there's some information which, and I don't recall the one that you're referring to either. That we should review.
I mean, on the other hand, if the votes are here to pass the motion, I'm perfectly happy to be in the minority on this one. That's up to you folks.
We can call a question. And vote. Why don't we vote? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed? 4 for, 1 against.
thank you all.
I'd still like to see that, if you would, if you could forward that. I don't know why I didn't see it. But- Okay, thank you.
Thought we had a comment up here, but I don't see it yet.
You thought what?
I thought we had a comment up here or something. that-
There's questions along the way, I think.
Oh,
I don't know how to respond to Betsy's question. I was the liaison to the East Hill Committee,
But we don't,
but yeah.
the old one,
The old one.
we don't have an official, I mean,
That's my understanding.
the EVEAC is a committee of the town, and so there's no liaison. It's,
They're
they
liaising with
report
us.
to- they report to us.
yeah, they gave a report already tonight.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, all right, let's talk about derelict properties in town.
Let's do that.
I don't know who brought this forward.
I mean, I think this is connected to the
99 Main Street.
inclusive of, but not limited to.
Yeah, there's a bunch. There's some that are being bought out theoretically through FEMA. That are really derelict. And then there's some that just are letting,
Is there a time on that? When they're gonna be bought out?
while the ones along Main Street, I mean, School Street, I believe they're approved and
They've actually been appraised.
they've been appraised, okay.
Yes, so they're moved along another step. They haven't all decided what to do.
So the owners now, it's their decision to
Right.
decide to take the offer. And who pays for the demolition? It's it's FEMA, right?
State will pay for the demolition.
State.
The town will still have to sign up at one more step, which you've already preliminarily signed actually last year to maintain the property as an undeveloped area.
Mm-hmm,
That will cost something. I mean, in the sense that the National Park Service, which you're aware of, you know, we're gonna give us some help in figuring out what to do with that abandoned land.
right.
The removal of the buildings, the demolition and the removal of the buildings is gonna be paid for by this.
Yeah, okay.
And so a comment from Yoko online, 100 Brook Road is mine, and I've not yet heard FEMA yet, as a point of information.
Yeah, and so the School Street properties are from the 2023 floods.
Right.
And so we're talking about folks who were affected by the 2023 floods, getting their appraisals and moving one step forward. 2024 is still
There's
farther behind in the process.
although interestingly enough, the money to pay for the 2024 flush is coming from 2023.
Mm-hmm,
So there's unexpended state funds that are being used, which is why they could move so much faster than the 2024 flood might have indicated they would, because the money's been obligated. Doesn't mean it's here, but it's been obligated to pay for those properties. 10 of the properties have been informed that they are going to be bought out. 17 properties, I think 15 to 70 properties are still waiting for that word, which could be any day. And then each of them will wait for their appraisal, and then they will determine whether or not they wish to take a buyout.
mm-hmm.
So I think this conversation, this agenda item is speaking to the pressure that the select board is feeling from the town of Plainfield about, we don't yet have a housing committee for Plainfield. If we did, those most vocal on the subject are talking about the derelict houses in the stock on the master list. Something. Meanwhile, there's additional context of the town clerk over the last month and a half angling toward increased ability to ticket.
Right.
And so we're looking for accountability, focus, and like positive action on derelict housing. And then came to our collective attention, the issue of potentially rabid raccoons living behind 99 Main, terrorizing neighbors on either side, either in both sides. And so,
Mostly on one side.
mostly on one side. And so I think we're here to acknowledge the public problem and the specific threat of the raccoons in 99 Main. Am I speaking like well
Yeah.
for us?
Yeah, before we get into the specifics of 99 Main, have we heard anything back from the Council on Rural Development as to when they may do the forum on housing this summer,
Late July is what we
late July?
agreed to, but not a specific date. Like in that proposal, it said late July.
Go ahead.
So I think one of the.
Can you identify yourself, please?
I'm gonna have to push it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is Anne Vancouvering. I live at 87 Main. I think one of the problems that we ran into with the whole raccoon thing was that nobody could do anything. If the property owner didn't take responsibility, the game warden couldn't come, the health officer couldn't do anything. So, and there were, no firearms are to be discharged in the town. So there was this raccoon that was threatening, a family with a toddler. And, there was nothing anybody could do. I mean, I informed the Atchinsons and they came over and they did something. Whether or not, I don't know what has been happening since. There was,
I know there's action they're taking on it. Whether it's successful, we have yet to see.
we have yet to see.
Yeah.
But I think that was a hole in the laws
Mhm.
Because there are some properties along School Street that are not the ones from the flood, but that are fairly derelict, that could have similar situations, and it turns out we have holes in our laws about what can be done for public menaces if there are absentee landlords.
Mhm.
So that was one of my major concerns.
And that's probably what's driving this discussion.
I don't know who brought.
I mean, you're not the only one who's brought this up.
Okay.
So, these are issues we are concerned about.
There are two hands raised on Zoom, Amy and Alicia.
Amy?
I came on to listen to the discussion thinking that this was about the derelict house on School Street, Al Goldman's house. And as I was sitting in my backyard, a raccoon jumped from a tree just now. And I came inside because I was nervous. And I just sent a message to my neighbors, letting them know to bring their animals in. It looks like it doesn't look, it's like a baby or a teenager, maybe. It's not a full size. It's probably hungry. It's just like, I don't know. It was not scared of me at all. And so, I talked to the health officer, I talked to Jody, and she said, that the things are moving forward and trying to get something done. But knowing that there were probably 15 kids next door to me having a party at our house, like next door, it is very disconcerting that there is this family of raccoons. And it's very disconcerting to see that yellow house falling down, and not knowing, what as a town we can do about these things. So I'm curious. Yep.
Thank you. Alicia?
Yeah, I was very happy to see this on the agenda. I know we have a lot to deal with as a town. I'm not entirely sure which houses on School Road are on the FEMA buyout list. And I mean, I know about the one Goldman house. I've heard there were others. I'm not, and from what I understand, we could, as a town, are pretty powerless. We can adopt ordinances, but we can't enforce them against the landlords or the owners of derelict buildings without permission from or being empowered by the Vermont legislature due to something called Dillon's Law. That's Dillons, not like Bobby Zimmerman. And this is potential housing. We've lost and are losing probably with FEMA buyouts and then the tear downs, a lot of historic buildings in our town. I don't know if people are aware, but there was a bill raised H109 in the legislature, which was sent to committee and died in committee by a number of legislators. I think most, if not all, were from the Northeast Kingdom, that would have provided for ordinances, but this ordinance, the proposed ordinance was only for designated downtowns, which after communicating with Bram and Will, I understand that School Street falls outside of, because we don't have multi-use there. The businesses, Outer Spice and Maple Fields are in Marshfield. But I just think this is something that, I think it's outrageous. And it doesn't, we're talking about attracting development, attracting businesses. It doesn't look right either for us. So I'll be quiet now, but thank you for raising this.
Thanks. Yes, identify yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Christy Farnham. I just want to reread a post that I put on Front Porch Forum on March 11th and start by saying thank you for putting this on the agenda because it's something I'm very passionate about. I've been a resident with you know, part of Plainfield that my family has for decades. I won't tell you how many. And my post says, to recover from the floods and revitalize our town, we will need to attract investment to build housing and infrastructure and to restore economic vitality. How will we be successful in securing those resources if we aren't fanning an interest in investing in ourselves? If you have no interest or ability to keep your property from falling into disrepair, sitting vacant and idle for years, decaying into rubble, please post it for sale so that folks with the capacity to do so can make it habitable again or raise it to build new. Imagine how far 2.5 million could take us in restoring idle properties where infrastructure already exists and bringing those units back online. So I think it's really important to think about, with the limited resources we have, money and bodies, that we really target those resources to areas where we can make quick impacts. And, you know, as I enter the gateway of this town, from both sides, it's so devastating to see where this has gone. And then maybe as a caveat to this, it used to be in our town reports that we were able to see those folks that were delinquent in their tax responsibilities. And I haven't seen such a list in a long, long time. Maybe it's less public than it used to be. But the town does have an ability to take action if the responsibilities of their tax obligations are not being met. And that is certainly one way that the town can intervene.
Thank you, Christie. Go ahead, Mike.
I wanted to say that that some of the properties on School Street have been vacant for quite some time. Many people are aware what those properties are. 4 of them have one same owner. We've been really concerned as of 2 years ago, I believe, about one property that probably should be condemned, which is sitting on a sort of a constructed culvert that's part of the building itself and actually gets over, it's not big enough. And we don't know how to go forward with that. I do know that I believe all the taxes are paid on these properties, but the ability to act on a building that is actually in danger of collapse and has constrict stream flow under it is something also that hopefully could be addressed by either changes in ordinance or by specifically identifying it in relation to certain state laws.
Thanks.
Couple of hands up.
There's 2 hands on mine, Noella and Betsy.
Noella first.
Hello, it's actually Adam Krakowski.
Okay.
I'm the homeowner at 109 Main Street, and the family that's been affected with the raccoon situation. And the issue that I ran into was I contacted Jody to notify her that what had occurred was last Saturday, about 7 a.m. We actually had a raccoon on our porch, which is a very common circumstance in the last year. And I banged the door, which is normally what I do, and normally raccoons will run away from such circumstances. This one actually kind of rather aggressively came up to the screen of the window with my cat in the window. The window was shut, but still, went on the screen, and it basically had this noticeable tick to it that it kept twitching its head to one side. And finally, we went to get a camera and it ran off, and we thought the circumstance was done. And about 10 minutes later, another circumstance, the raccoon came back, and I actually took video of it outside and then reported it to Jody because it's a noticeably aggressive behavior with a nervous tick, and it was growling and screeching at about 7:30 in the morning. I contacted Jody, the town health officer, who said that there was nothing that could really be done except contacting the game warden, a gentleman by the name of Dustin. I contacted Dustin and basically got told that he is overextended, covering 17 to 18 towns, and that that I'm within my rights of shooting the animal or killing the animal, but I have to identify that it is the one that we believe is rabid. And Dustin, I sent him the video I took, and he agreed that it was very aggressive and not a normal behavior. And we've set up have a heart traps and so forth, but I got told by Dustin that I should buy a gun and shoot it. And then I got told by Jody after I reported to her what Dustin told me, that there's no firearms allowed discharged in the village, which basically left me as a homeowner going, great, I can't do anything. And I'm extremely frustrated. We're at the point that with our 16-month-old daughter, we do not take her outside till after 8 a.m. and I go outside first to look around. And we do not, we don't stay out past 6 p.m. And there's been instances where I fired up the grill to cook a meal, and we're talking 6:30 in the evening, and the raccoon, and I have a video of this as well, a different raccoon literally was attacking the table and the grill, and it's become almost incessant. And I don't know, as a homeowner, I'm frustrated at what I can do and how limited my abilities are, and I don't see any recourse except basically taking matters in my own hands. So I would like, to some consideration, with the town moving forward for some type of ordinance or something because in some of these circumstances of the properties around that aren't affected by the FEMA buyouts, there's dilapidated structures. There's, something where I'm rather shocked, having moved, 15 plus years ago from a different state, that the town doesn't have the ability to revoke a certificate of occupancy for a house that's found to be hazardous to be inhabited. So I'm basically in limbo. We have a heart set up. There's have a heart set up at 99 Main, and it's just a matter of if the traps work or not, and then what do we do afterwards? So anyhow, thank you.
Thank you, Adam. That is distressing. I hadn't realized it had been quite such a problem.
Betsy has a hand up.
Betsy, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. And thanks, Adam. I hope that can be addressed sooner than later. I think people need to be able to enjoy living in Vermont in the summer, and taking care of our village, taking care of our whole town is going to make a difference. I believe our property values have gone down and continue to go down when we have Route 2, School Street area looking so derelict. I think people on the western side of the intersection, I've seen people painting houses, putting in some gardens, some plants and gardens, whatever. That makes a difference. And if you can't paint your house, you don't have the money to do that, you can have maybe the money to do some gardening. And we're going to soon here at Littlewood Farm have some free flowers available for people. I'm working on the church garden. Beautifying the community in the summer makes a big difference. And I hope that the housing that's abandoned is not a home to raccoons and other, unwanted critters. I know right down on at Heartbreak, as far as I know, the door's still open, the place is still open. It's dangerous. It looks really bad. I'm embarrassed when people come. So I hope we can continue to do the little bit, the stuff that we can to make our community look better and hopefully be more livable.
Thanks. Yeah, I just, the one thing I want to mention is we do have a revolving loan fund in town, which is designed to help maintain historic buildings. It's administered by the town. There's funds there. So, and we're hoping to get that enlarged. So people that can't afford to paint their homes will have a way to help pay for that at a reduced rate. It's not a grant, it's borrowing, but it's reduced interest rate. I see Bob and Becky are on the phone, on the Zoom. Do you want to add anything, Bob? Because we seem to be focused on raccoons.
Oh, there it goes.
Bob, did you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can only share what I talked to you about today, and that's that we have a heart trap out there. We've gone through the house. We didn't see any evidence of raccoon habitation in the main part of the house that's on the street. Curiously, the Have a Heart trap has 3 days in a row had bait missing from it, and the trap door triggered and nothing in it. So I don't know what's going on. You know, I've reviewed the instructions and they're pretty foolproof. You know, once the door comes down, there's a brace that goes against it, so you can't get out. But I'm just puzzled, and I don't know whether one of the people that I talked to had thought that, you know, they were burdened to come over and take stuff out of the trap, but I haven't seen anything happening there. I want to get together with the neighbors who are on the line now, but because I want to put up a little motion sensor light on one side and maybe in the breezeway out back to at least illuminate if there's a problem where they're coming from. And the next thing we want to do is get the garage closed up. We got to move some material around in there so we can close it up.
Do exterminators have permission to come on your property, Bob?
Such as whom?
I'm just asking if exterminators were to want to get onto your property, is that okay?
I'll check with Becky, but I don't think it's a problem.
Okay.
We haven't hired anybody to be an exterminator, if that's what you mean.
No, I know that. I know that. I would just,
okay.
if we're looking to there was some issues of permission to get onto the property. And we just want to make sure we clarify if that's okay.
I didn't hear about those issues.
I have a question.
Rose has a question.
Yes.
I'm kind of curious what the end game is for a Have a Heart trap with a rabid animal.
The Have a Heart trap was, according to Peter Flood, the animal has to be euthanized, and then it can be taken to the rabies hotline folks, which are in Montpelier, and they're interested in, they have to do an autopsy, which involves examination of the brain. So you have to be careful if you're going to shoot the animal. This is from information from Peter Flood, who's a trapper in Barrie. And that if you're not careful when you euthanize the animal and, you know, damage the brain, which has to be examined to see if it's rabid, then it's a lost cause. But the rabies hotline folks will come out and pick up a carcass if you suspect it might be rabid.
I do feel a need to remind everyone, we do have a no firearm ordinance in the village.
Right.
So that is not a.
I mean, I guess I'm also wondering if the animal can't be tested for rabies unless they're dead. It seems like we could remove a step, the euthanasia step of catching them in a Have a Heart trap. I mean, it seems like extermination. I mean, I saw a video of this raccoon. It was one of the raccoons, and it was indeed behaving quite erratically. And so, yeah, I guess if we seem to be talking about extermination, and even to test for rabies, they have to be killed. So I guess I'm just wondering, how can we streamline the solution set here?
So what you're saying is so what you're saying is, why use a Have a Heart trap? Why don't we just not have a heart, right?
Well, I don't know,
I mean,
what do you do though? I mean, what else are you gonna do? You
Well,
can't
those
use
are
it.
traps,
We can
right?
use kill traps.
A kill trap, okay, all right.
And what Barry was saying is if the animal's too large, the Have a Heart won't close,
Mm-hmm.
so.
Yeah.
If it's too big.
No, it's the proper size. Have a heart that we're using.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
the one other piece is that the raccoons are living under the building, not in the building.
Mhm. Okay. Well, thank you for
We
bringing
looked
it.
all over the building just for your assurance.
Thank you for bringing it to the attention. I don't know quite how we proceed on this, but it sounds like we need to somehow.
Graham did mention that he called an exterminator. He didn't, that was a ... He called an exterminator. I don't know that any services were asked for.
Mhm.
Graham is tracking this and holding at least a piece of this.
Yeah,
I
right.
think that's the Peter Flood and Barry that he talked.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, excuse me.
The same one that Bob's been talking to.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the
Okay,
same person.
thank you.
I mean, I think to me, that's the next step. The professionals really need to deal with this. We can't have homeowners having to deal with it.
And so
I mean,
I think if there is want for select board authorization to bottom line that, I don't, so here's where if we had an ordinance that said the property owners are responsible, this would be a moment where we could say, you know, please be responsible and call in an exterminator. Or in absence of that, are we kind of treating this as a town menace on Main Street and authorizing the hiring
Mhm.
of an exterminator?
For the issuance of a permit.
A permit to what?
To take out the raccoon. To kill the raccoon.
Well, I don't know, we have to have a permit for that. I don't think we have latitude in our no shooting in village to exempt things from it. So, I mean, exterminators could use other kinds of traps or do other things, but I don't think they're gonna, you know, use a gun. I don't think that's something that's gonna be, unless we change the town laws around gun use.
I'm just fine about no guns in town, thank you. Bob Atkinson has hands up.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, Peter Flood told me that, yes, he uses Have a Heart traps. That he takes the animal away, you transport it within the trap and you take it to some place where you can operate a firearm. And then he carefully uses whatever, he said he shoots him, but he shoots him carefully enough so that he doesn't ruin the brain, which then wants to be examined by the rabies folks. So that's about all I know about it. The other quick comment I have is that we don't have any food in that house, and I don't know what's the attraction to, you know, except that there's not people pounding on the floors, turning on lights, playing music, whatever, you know. So if that's the issue, then I would like to put some motion sensor lights on for the outside anyway. But I will tell you that the ones on our deck don't seem to dissuade a raccoon up here if they want to come and visit in the wintertime or it's springtime or whatever, you know.
Neighbor Adam has his hand up again.
Adam has his hand up again.
Adam, yeah, go ahead.
Just to relay what Dustin, the game warden, had stated to me, was that he legally would be able to use a firearm, being a state liaison with the state trooper, but I would have to be physically present to identify the particular raccoon. It was really this crazy, you know, and you know, covering 18 towns, he doesn't know the different laws of each town, but basically that was his statement to me, and he, you know, effectively wished me luck because with his work hours, it was unlikely that the raccoon would be present. So, you know,
Yeah, it sounds like it's either a kill trap or a Have a Heart trap and taken away and dispatched somewhere else. To me, that's what it sounds like.
Have professional services been retained, and if so, by whom?
Yeah,
Bob, are you contracting with Peter Flood, or you just got advice from Peter and are doing your own trapping?
So far, I've just gotten the advice, but I'm sure I haven't contacted him and told him what's been happening, that the bait is gone, the door is closed, and where's the raccoon? I don't think anybody is coming by and releasing the raccoon, particularly if there's deemed that there's a trouble going on there. But I'm also concerned about, there's, in talking with Jody, she says, well, there's food all over the place, whether it's Positive Pie or if it's people's garbage cans are out by there. It doesn't take much for a raccoon to knock over a garbage can. But
it sounds like we have a troublesome raccoon that needs to be gotten rid of.
And I guess,
I don't know how many there are that we're talking about.
Yeah, there's probably families now,
Yeah.
so, and they could all be rabid.
That's the other problem at this time of year.
Anyway.
Okay, so.
The other problem Peter Flood stated is that this time of year that they're with children, with kids. And so if you kill the parents, obviously you got to kill the kids too, which are probably not old enough now to navigate their way down to find their way into a trap.
I think a professional's needed.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else you do it. You've tried a lot of things, it sounds like. The neighbors have had to deal with this for a long time.
But Bob, it sounds like the neighbors think that the family lives under the house at 99, not in the house, but maybe somehow dug in under.
We were in the cellar, and we've looked
Well, yeah,
under.
they might not be in the cellar, but they could be like under the foundation or something.
Yeah.
The crawl space. Have you thought about bringing Peter to the house to figure out where they're coming from and a better action plan?
That's probably the next thing, and just be prepared to write the big check.
Well, yeah, it's part of being a landlord, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
I'm not a landlord on that property. I'm just an owner. Sorry.
Well,
I think maybe establish your commitment to hire an exterminator to deal with the raccoons at 99 Main.
Sure.
Thank you.
Is that a question?
That was a question, and I heard a yes and an answer. Thank you.
Before we move off, I will say,
Yeah.
Peter, you had reached out to Vermont League of Cities and Towns about derelict buildings in general. I don't know if you remember this, but we got a response from them. There's not great options, but there are some options, including, we could look at a dangerous and vacant building ordinance. And so maybe we should look more into that. The model language that he sent you did not go through to the thing you forwarded, so I don't see that, but there is potential model language for a dangerous and vacant building ordinance that would ask for, instruct owners to either do repairs or cleanup. And then there, similar to other ordinances, would then be the ticketing process if they don't follow through.
There is some stuff out there. I know the town of Milton has such an ordinance, was one of the places. And I think, I'm trying to recall, Jody Velarde, I think, also referenced those in one of her responses.
Yeah, and there's also, beyond that, we don't have a building inspector, but for towns without a building inspector, there are also
Yes.
ways for health orders to prevent, remove, or destroy any public health hazard. So I don't know if we want to try to investigate with Jody
Yeah.
what our options are and how we, like, not this raccoon issue today, but with just.
The word ordinance has come up several times
Yeah.
tonight, and we come back to the issue of enforcement of ordinances with the
Mhm.
municipal ticketing.
Yes.
And talking to Bram last meeting or meeting before that, that we need to take a look at all our ordinances that we want enforced to make sure that they are enforceable. But that's a project that
Mhm.
somebody needs to take on, and that's not gonna happen overnight,
Mhm.
and so, like, I think what can happen overnight is to focus on getting a professional in to deal with the raccoons here.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about a larger project, back to the housing committee and looking at the derelict houses in town, for lack of a better term, as potential new housing or restored housing to address part of the housing crisis, that's again, a bigger discussion, but an appropriate one.
Yeah, but I think derelict houses is more than just a housing conversation. It is a public health conversation. And so
Yeah.
even if for some reason folks in town didn't think it was a good solution for our housing issues, we should be looking at it from a safety of the town perspective.
Yeah, I mean, little kids tend to explore things. I know,
Mhm.
I was one once. And, if you have falling down porches and rotting floorboards and things like that, people can get hurt. And then the landowner's liable. And,
Yep.
I would like to see. us
I'd like,
do
yeah,
something.
anything else on this? I think we'll let Bob and Becky deal with the exterminator and hope that gets folks so they can use their outdoors. And as far as the other, what's that, Bob?
I'm just puzzled because let's say the exterminator comes and takes out, a family of raccoons, 6, 7, whatever, 3 to 4, I don't know how many there are. And then what happens? Rinse and repeat.
Well, I mean,
People
then-
continue to bait them by leaving food out, putting stuff that should be composted in trash barrels. And Jody told me, she says, I can get up and go to work in the morning and, see dead rats in the street in front of Positive Pie, for example. When they talk about if you could legally transport a raccoon to different territory, they talk about it being at least 5 miles away. Well, I'm telling you that if there's an abandoned house on Brook Street, it can roam all over the downtown village, I would think, looking for food. So we not only have to, eliminate the raccoons, but you have to keep them from being attracted to come all over again. It's not cheap to hire Peter Flood. It's $30 to set a trap, and it's $65 for every animal he traps. That builds up in a hurry. So I don't want to be the attracted nuisance in town, but they've got to eat something, and it's not coming from our house.
No, but it sounds like they're living at your house, under your house.
I don't know. I haven't seen them in the house.
The neighbors have reported, neighbors who are living there have seen them coming in and out. So maybe you should talk to the neighbors and they can maybe show you where they're living.
And have Flood take a look at your property perhaps. Even just if anything else for an estimate.
Yeah.
I think we need to move on, I'm afraid. We're already almost half an hour over.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Thank you folks for coming
Yeah.
and talking about it. We will be talking about derelict housing and try to figure out something. It's not going to be fast, but for people that want to live in their home and want to fix it up, there is the revolving loan fund. So I'd suggest that. I'm going to suggest, well, I can give a little report on the Route 2 intersection presentation. We had a presentation last meeting and there were 3 options, as I recall, which was to stay with the contract we've signed with the town, with V-Trans, to abandon the whole idea, or to use to come up with a much lesser project that the state would fund, which would improve the intersection some, would put in a sidewalk with a crosswalk to the Opera House, and
and be packaged with the Route 2
It would be,
resurfacing.
that's right, it would be
coming out
part of
in a
the,
couple of years.
in a couple of years, that's about as fast as we could expect anything. My,
2029.
what's that?
2029 was when Patty Coburn, the lady from V-Trans, who was here,
Okay.
said that project.
Okay. And that's as fast as anything we're gonna get done.
When they're.
My feeling is we should take them up on it. I mean, if it's paid for and that's the
And
quickest we can get it done.
The third option, just to name the third option, which was petition for redesign and wait, who knows how long to
Yeah,
get that determination and get into like a new cycle of relationship
yeah,
with V-Trans
Yeah.
about this intersection.
yeah. So I called Brian, the fellow who's here from Du Bois and King, and asked him to forward us something that we could respond to. And I haven't seen anything yet.
Ken Roby, you mean?
No, it wasn't. I'm sorry, it was Ken Roby. I'm sorry, yes. Yeah, Ken Roby. And it would have to come from V-Trans, but he was gonna follow up and I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, the lady from V-Trans was here, her name is Patty Coburn.
Yeah, yeah.
I have concerns about the, removal of the guardrail and the retaining wall, because I think Route 2 would tend to then slide down. Plus, I still have visions of trucks missing the curve and ending up in Josh's bedroom, but.
Yeah.
Just asking to include a sidewalk on the other side, but it's just that, but a granite to slow down.
I mean, we have to allow the engineers to sort
Yeah,
these things out, but
But I wonder if they'd be open to some of Patty's suggestions here, which had to do with, and the discussion that night of, people coming here for events, kids coming here for classes, concerts, plays, meetings, et cetera, and that I wonder if they, would be open to, looking at the crosswalks, the markings,
they did.
and lighting as part of their, scaled down, project.
They did talk about that. And they talked about an illuminated crosswalk sign with a
Mhm.
alert sign toward Marshfield to say that somebody's in a crosswalk, which to me is about the best you're gonna do.
Or
It's a-
event ahead or something.
Yeah, it's a blind corner, so you need something, and you need something other than a permanent sign, because people tend to ignore permanent signs. You need something that's,
But we had, Patty was talking earlier, like when this bridge was closed, we had a traffic light here that
Yeah.
stopped. It was a,
Yeah.
a red, yellow, green
Mhm.
deal, and people stopped, why could we not deal with a traffic light, which seems to me much, much less expensive than construction,
well, it also slows people down.
Traffic light.
and you might need more than one.
Yeah, you would
but,
probably need several.
in a couple of places, and, I know in the city of Barry, by the Whispering Bench there, the gazebo, the
Mhm.
City Hall Park, whatever it's called. All of those lights, and it's a complicated intersection, are sensitive enough to, record if like there's any traffic waiting in line. And so that if there is nothing waiting in line, that cycle skips.
Mhm.
Right, and it jumps ahead, so like, okay, it could be green, 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 unless there's somebody coming up the hill who needs to come out, and then it would go yellow and let them go, and then it would turn back on. So it doesn't have to be in like an automatic timing cycle. The technology exists to do
Sure.
that. I had some conversations with Steve McKenzie, the city manager, about that, because they had some problems when it first went in, where it like sat there for a long time and didn't do anything, or it changed too quickly, but they got it worked out.
Yep. Well, that would be great. I'm just concerned that to start up another whole new project, an engineering
No, I
project.
think what we want to do is respond to their proposal with some suggestions and say,
Yeah,
hey, could you tweak it in the following manner? Could
Yeah.
we add lighting? Could we add crosswalks?
could we add it sooner rather than
Yeah,
later?
you
Yeah,
do that right away,
Yeah.
not in another
And
25
or
years.
what of this plan can
Yeah.
get implemented right away?
yeah. I think we need to see the plan, because apparently they've produced one. They have a plan. for a limited,
We saw it.
We
Yeah.
have, we have that.
Saw it.
yeah, we have it. So, but I wanted to see some documentation in what they would propose to us to let us react to it.
Well, should we invite Patty Coburn back or?
Yeah, I mean,
Or a working group of two go meet with her?
all that could be done. I mean, I went to Ken Roby because he was the one who came here and made the presentation, but Patty may be the one we need to talk to.
Can we just propose that to them? Like a quick,
Oh, we can,
see if
we
it
can,
fits of our town?
we can
the light
propose
and
it,
the
yeah.
Crosswalk?
I think some kind of direct proactive ask
Yeah.
to meet our needs, like we have needs here and asking that they be met.
Mhm.
Is I think a base level response for the select board.
Yeah,
I'd be willing to reach out to Patty and,
I'll reach out to Ken because I've talked to him.
and maybe with this Patty, ask for a meeting. And
Mhm.
say, hey, we're trying to figure out our formal response to your proposal,
Mhm.
so.
Patty from V-Trans can walk Patty's grandkids to the library and see how.
Yeah.
it does.
It should be terrifying. Yeah.
I mean, I would also, I feel curious about town initiatives, citizen initiatives. And I know we're at least partially limited by Route 2 as a federal highway, and they probably don't want us painting murals on the roadway itself.
They won't.
Which is a strategy to slow traffic, and it works beautifully. And so I guess I wonder, are there small billboards along the way that are actually just hand painted signs?
Well, there are strategies for painting lines on the road where they pinch the road together. And even though that it doesn't affect the running of an automobile, it has an emotional and psychological sense.
There's 3D crosswalks.
There's all kinds of things, but they won't do that. We've talked about this in the past. At least they didn't do it in the past. Maybe they would now.
I know the citizens of Plainfield are gonna be way more responsive to do something than V-Trans.
Oh,
in terms of
absolutely.
Timeliness.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm wondering, how can we push the envelope? How can we push the in on the edges of what are we allowed to do to slow traffic down?
Where did we get the light before? Where did we get that light from before?
Well, it was part of the construction project.
They were doing.
It was a
construction.
temporary light
It's a rental.
that they were able to do because it was a construction zone. It's not something we could just put up. Like, again, we do not have
No, we can't.
authority over the road.
No, we can't do anything on the road, especially this road.
Can we though solicit the people who live along Route 2 in critical places where it would be great if cars slowed down?
Well, it's part of the reason we have derelict housing here, I think, is, people,
Betsy thinks that too. yeah. Yeah.
it's, we need to, we need to slow people down.
Yeah.
I'm all for it with an artist's son, Rose. I'd love to see stuff like that. But I know we've tried with the V-Trans in the past. And they really are uptight about doing anything with the road because there's standards, federal standards, state standards. And
What about on people's personal properties that line the road?
that, I see no reason not to do that.
As long as they don't,
Not in the right of way.
yeah, and also can't be, we have billboard laws. in the
Yeah.
state, so the size of the thing would also be hindered.
Yeah.
It mostly stops so that you can't have like sales billboards for like a department store or
Yeah,
something on
yeah.
the side of the road.
Anyway, so do you want to reach out to Patty?
Well,
Okay, and I'll reach out to Ken and we'll see if we can get anything to happen. Okay, we're down to the approving draft minutes of 5/5/24 and 5/12/20. I'm sorry. 25.
Motion to approve draft minutes 5/5 and 5/12.
second,
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And approval of warrants, accounts payable. Go ahead. If you want to make a motion.
Motion to approve accounts payable, 5/16 and payroll, 4/30, 5/8, 5/12 to 15, 5/13 and 5/22.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. Date for the next select board meeting,
it's June 9th.
June 9, thank you.
Motion to adjourn at 8:33 PM.
Oh, could I just
Yes,
wanted to give you a quick update on personnel policy stuff, okay? Um, I am about 85% of the way done typing the edited version. I am waiting for some language, and I'm calling you on Friday, as you suggested, about the HSA and the work boot allowance section, and Graham and I have an engagement about the leave section. Apparently, they're not using the forms that are called for. They don't use any forms that are called for or anything, so we're looking for some alternative language there. But other than that,
Okay,
I will hope to have that sent out to you for comment. This should be considered a working draft, so, all comments will be welcome in terms of edits. And then I don't know if it'll be ready for June 9th. I sort of would like to go to the wastewater commission meeting, which I think is after June 9th.
mhm.
They had sent some suggestions and I wanted to run some things by there, so, and then I'm away the following one, so it would probably be our first meeting in July. That is probably the target for
Okay,
completion of that, so.
okay, well, thanks a lot for doing that. That's really critical.
We added 2 short agenda items at the beginning of the meeting that we haven't gotten to. They shouldn't take long, but there are 2 more.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
What do you need for?
I really feel like I have to go soon.
It's still light out.
One is counsel for the bond from BCF. There was question amongst us, which counsel rather should be retained to confer with us
Right,
on the bond.
right, that is one.
Peter and I were just at a meeting with Lawrence Miller of BCF, who confirmed that this is a bond. We have bond counsel, Eli Emerson.
Mhm.
And so I make a motion to retain Eli Emerson for this BCF Phase 2 loan.
Basically, it's to look at the language that we've been provided, the loan agreement and
Okay,
the,
yep.
what's the other term?
Bond.
Yeah, the loan itself,
The document?
promissory note.
Promissory
That was the
note,
other-
okay,
That was the other term.
Yeah.
So yeah, motion to.
Second.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Second, part of the personnel policy is going to include holidays. And in the, basically, it's the intention to, you said this, Peter.
Our holiday section is not quite out of date. They still use the term Washington's birthday as opposed to President's Day. But it has always followed the Vermont recognized holidays, including Bennington Battle Day. Last year, Vermont recognized Juneteenth. It's not in our policy. It's coming right up. And I don't know as we'll have done all the revisions by then, but I would move that we recognize Juneteenth.
Oh, I
And
see.
make sure that the employees know that that's a holiday.
Yeah. That a motion?
Yes.
Second?
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for that. That's. And we have to, will we just advise Graham or
Well, Josh, are you listening? Juneteenth is it, office is closed Juneteenth. Pass the word to the rest of your folks.
Okay.
Motion.
Where were we?
Motion to adjourn. the
Motion to
meeting.
adjourn? And is there a second?
I second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Whew. Thank you all.
Nice work, everybody.
Wow, look at Apple Ground.
Hello.